5 shows last year, and then I had sabbatical from Wright State, so we just
Okay, now do you teach at Wright?
Yeah, I'm the head of the film program there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then I suppose, we truly should shake hands then.
Yes, exactly. So from one doctor to another.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, you got it. I always joke with
music.
people. Yeah, when they say things like, Dr. J, it's like, oh, that's like some dumb DJ name. I worked damn hard for that.
Exactly, I know.
You know what that's like.
Yes.
Yeah, because I thought I had seen that somewhere.
Yep. Yeah, so I had sabbaticals to write a book, so we packed up in an RV with our cats and just traveled everywhere and
So
played.
you take your cats with you?
Yeah. They lived with us. We lived on the road for a year, so.
So it's if I get weird about the whole cat thing.
Oh, we're weird about it.
We are too. If you look at our Instagram feed, people say like my Instagram feed is like music, cats, and buildings falling down.
Nice.
And it's kind of true.
Yeah.
All of our cats are rescue cats. Two of them
nice.
just showed up in the backyard. And we're the crazy people feeding the neighborhood cats.
Right, yeah, same. Yeah.
And so people
so
like they
cult of
fun
cats.
Of us. I'm totally down with that.
The new album is Nekonomicon. Neko is the Japanese word for cat.
Yeah.
So it's like,
well, our cats all have like long names. Like they're like Charlotte, Lindy Bell, Gibson. They all have our last name, Gibson. And of course we call her Lola for short.
Oh, cute, yeah.
Or we have like, let's see, Euphemia Mirabelle Gibson, and she's called Mimi. And then Mr. Sophie, who's Sophie Renee Michel. He was one who showed up. And for those of you who might be watching video, yes, I do talk about my cats all the time.
Same.
But he showed up and we thought was a lady cat. Turns out was not a lady cat, but the name Sophie had already stuck.
Oh, that's
We're like,
cute.
So he's French.
Yeah, Sophie.
Exactly right.
Cute.
And then Oliver, who we haven't figured out his middle name yet, he's not revealed himself to us. And I'm just going to, because he can't get in unless...
Yeah, I
here we
see.
Go.
Okay.
Everything is locked. Thank you, sir. Oh, thank you for that. Yeah. Oh, very cool. The only thing I can promise is airplay.
Cool. That's awesome.
But, yeah, you missed, we were talking about our cats.
Oh, cool.
There was like video too happening. Just so you know.
Right. What did you say about the side?
Oh, just said that. Oh.
Oh.
I'm sure you're tired of this song, but I love this song.
You don't want this?
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay.
It's good.
Yeah.
So yeah, you guys are probably like, I don't ever want to hear this song again. I
Yeah.
love this song.
Thank you. Good. No, it's like it's the difference between I mean, you know how it is.
Yeah, sometimes you're...
Just because it's like 3 albums.
Oh
since then.
yeah.
Like,
You're way past it.
Yeah,
I totally
but I
understand.
get it, like from the other side. So.
I didn't say, but yeah, thank you. The waters are for you.
Thank you.
If you need anything else, there's a cafe over there, and I can run over and grab stuff.
Okay.
So is there anything you want to talk about, or is there anything you do? You know, if there's, I usually take a really just general organic approach to this.
That sounds good.
We just talk about the band, we talk about the music, we talk about, I may say something about walking people through some of the records, talk about the most recent record.
Okay.
Anything you guys want to talk, of course, if you have shows coming up.
Yep.
We need to remind people about all the social media.
Yep.
None of this is, I always feel like whenever I say this, like, I don't mean to insult anyone's intelligence, but that's as close to a game plan as I get.
That sounds good.
Yeah, natural's good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
Yeah, then just...
Yeah, as you can see, playing in here would be tricky.
Yeah, I know. Like that's what I realized because I was like, our keyboard's not that small.
Oh,
so.
yeah.
I mean,
And we don't do acoustic.
This cannot roll out, but we can roll those 2 small cabinets out. We do have access to a recording studio. Across the hallway is a recording studio.
Nice.
But I've discovered that my engineering skills are awful. And without an engineer on staff, and then you have to get somebody who knows the equipment, and I have found there are engineers and there are engineers who know the setup.
Right. Yeah,
no
well,
disrespect.
and we can't do acoustic and like...
Yeah. No, right. So I just, and there's no shame in just chatting.
Yeah.
So we'll talk a little more in a minute here.
Cool.
And
anything off the top
Specifically?
Yeah.
Trying to think what'll, go over really well there.
Actually, I haven't heard this one.
Yeah, I haven't heard this forever.
Well, that totally fits.
I
yeah,
like it.
it's cool. I'm trying to think off the new album. I mean, it's all what you said, FCC safe and everything. Cause of course I don't play Grim, but that's a little intense, so maybe we should do. I'm trying to think. I don't think so. Do you think Bested is good?
Sure.
Because it kind of represents cats and stuff. Yeah, Bested, I think the 7th track.
Okay,
Yeah.
push that.
Yeah.
We can do that. So going in about 50 seconds.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and if it's not obvious, the knob's below, because when I'm usually sitting on that side, I'm like, where's the darn knob?
Oh, so
That's what controls the volume in your headset.
Oh, okay.
I usually set it about halfway up here, so if it's too loud or too low, feel free to change it so that it's comfortable for you.
Cool.
A new track and then an old track from Curse of Cassandra here. I really love that. I Miss You, and then not quite brand new music, but the newest that I have, a really, really terrific song, Carpe Noctem. Am I saying that right?
Yep, Carpe Noctem means seize the night.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that. So I am Dr. J. I am the host of your Tuesday Afternoon Alternative, and in case you're wondering, we have Curse of Cassandra here in the studio with us. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
It is a real pleasure to have you here. So for people who don't know Curse of Cassandra, tell them about the band. How did you guys start?
Sure. Well, Jake and I have been married for almost, 12, 13 years now. And we started doing music together about 3 or 4 years ago. I think like 3.5 years ago we started as a band. And then we decided we wanted to do electronic music together and started with both of us singing, and we still do that. And then we've added some different elements over time to the electronic aspect, like live drums and saxophone more recently.
Yeah, I have always played sax, and we were creating the electronic band, and so we performed singing, and then we decided to add it in for a show, and it went over well, so now we've been using it.
Yeah, and then over time we realized our cats should be incorporated because they're majorly influential in our songwriting, so we made them backup singers of the band. So they're involved in all the art and song creation, and they travel around with us when we play shows, and people get to hang out with them after shows in our RV.
Yeah,
so.
and our cats are actually Sphinx cats, so they're hairless.
Does that make it easier to travel with them?
Absolutely. Easier.
Yeah.
You could imagine an RV with a lot of cat hair in it.
Well, that's what I was thinking. That could get a little messy.
Yes.
Yes.
Living with 4 American short hairs.
Yeah, exactly.
And I find that the weather doesn't actually stop the shedding.
No.
But it's okay. I mean, because I would rather be cat hair covered than not have cats in my house.
Yes, it's their love.
I know. and like my Lola, who's the bruiser, she just runs and she doesn't walk into a room. It's sort of like, I'm here.
Right. Pay attention to me.
Exactly.
Love me.
and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
People know, like, I'll take all these pictures working on the show, and I usually have like a cat on my lap. I'm trying to move one hand around a cat. I totally understand the love of cats.
Yes.
Do you find that as you're making your music and you're touring and you're playing shows and things like that, do people connect with that? Do they connect with your love of cats?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would say a lot of our fans also have cats or love cats, and the music's about it. So they, I mean, like you said, they're always around. And so even when we're writing music, they're jumping on our laps while we're trying to figure stuff out. So.
Yeah, and so our album before this last one was called Cult of Cats, and we specifically called it that to kind of like pay homage to that, and then also just that cats for us, it's not just that like cats are cute and they're fun, but just that they go way back in time, and there's like spiritual associations with cats. So the new album Necronomicon, the Sacred Book of Cats, is kind of like acknowledging the history of different like meanings of what cats have meant metaphorically throughout history in various cultures, and I think there's this universality to cats that's also really fascinating.
Well, we should also talk more about the music. So you say that you're an electronic band. When you say that, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, so we use electronic instruments, so we have synthesizers, and then we also have drum beats that we use live. So different from acoustic bands that might have guitar and live acoustic drums, we perform and then we also sing, but we've, I guess, added a few acoustic instruments. But in terms of electronic music, we also fit into genres that that we normally have DJs, so that it's a style of music that is really popular now.
But yeah, we just add the band part since we have live elements. It's not all DJ'd. So yeah, I think what that means to us is just like from the beginning of the songwriting, we're thinking in terms of different sounds and sound banks, and we write a bass line and then we go through maybe thousands or at least hundreds of bass sounds and figure out which specific sound we want to use. And I think like one of the differences with electronic music, which I mean maybe it's kind of like guitar, I guess I'd have to think about that a little more, but every synthesizer is kind of an entirely different instrument that you have to learn how it works, and there's not a lot of transference of that necessarily, versus like guitar to guitar you could probably like pick up and have a general sense of like how to play it well. Every synthesizer kind of like works in its own way, so it's kind of like you can't ever really fully learn the instrument, which is exciting. There's
kind of infinite possibilities in terms of the sound, so you kind of gotta make some decisions.
It almost sounds more like composition.
Yeah.
What you're describing is more sound composition than, say, I'm just cranking out a song.
Yeah, and I actually come from a classical background in terms of music, so that we definitely approached our music writing like composition in a way, and what are all these parts doing together, when you create the song.
If you're just tuning in, you are listening to your Tuesday afternoon alternative, and we're here at WUDR with our good friends from Curse of Cassandra. I'm going to call you good friends now that you're here. Yeah. You don't get a choice. Well, I guess you do absolutely get a choice in that. Our good friends, Curse of Cassandra, are here. If you've got a comment or a question, feel free to tweet us, DRJYTAA. I know that's a lot, but it's Dr. J, your Tuesday afternoon alternative, just the first letters of those. So tweet us if you have a question. We'll be sure to ask that on the air for you. I'm also curious, guys, so we talk about sound composition, and while you were talking and having listened to some of your earlier work, I hear elements of like dance music. I hear elements of like what some people would call house and things of that nature. Is that purposeful? Or is that just something that kind of just came out as you were composing?
Yeah, so I think it's purposeful. We love a lot of music like that, and we were trying to figure out how to create a live show that fans would want to dance at, and so they do. And Nicole's an amazing stage performer live. She dances the whole time, and she also hands out cat ears so that audience members can wear them, and so we kind of create a little environment of cats dancing around.
Cat people dancing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we play around a lot with drum beats, so a lot of the genres that we're in, like industrial or house, like they use specific beats that kind of define the genre, and we try to work with a different drum beat, usually for every track. So we'll do like a trap song, and we'll do like a witch house song, and we'll do a house song and an industrial song, and kind of like the sounds, I guess, connect them, even though they're different genre rhythm-wise. So we like to experiment with that a lot.
Well, I'm just curious, tell us about the first record. Tell us about the first album that you made.
Yeah, our first album was called Night, and it is a collection of songs that we wrote for, it was our first full-length album. And it was kind of inspired by vampires, I guess you could say, so we're interested in cats and vampires and things like that. That's also available on our websites, and which is curseofcassandra.com. And it was our first album. We spent a long time writing it, and then we went into the studio, a major studio, with producer Jason Rubel, who has worked with people like the Dresden Dolls, and was an amazing producer to work with.
Yeah, and we've traveled out to Pennsylvania for that, so that was really cool.
Did you tour behind that record?
Yeah, so we toured behind that record. That was our first, I guess, attempt at touring outside of, Ohio. So we did about like a month and a half, a 6-week tour, and we went to maybe like 11 different cities, I think. Maybe 15 shows, and that was our night tour.
Yeah.
Mostly the Midwest.
Yeah, mostly the Midwest, and it was amazing as a independent band, you know, because it's just the two of us that we do all this together. But we went on our first tour, and it was great to find in different cities that we would never expected people who were supportive and wanted original art, and they, you know, enjoyed seeing us, and we enjoyed seeing them, and it was refreshing to go out there and find people who are interested in what you're doing.
Oh, sure. Making those connections is really part of what's wonderful. It's not the only thing that's wonderful, of course, but one aspect of what's wonderful about music and touring.
Yeah, and we also found that like playing the smaller cities was actually the more, you know, tended to be the better shows, because a lot of bands don't go through those cities if they're not like, you know, if it's not Chicago, then a lot of bands don't go to like the surrounding areas, and so it was actually really cool to go to those areas, and people were really appreciative of that because bands often miss those markets. Yeah, so we kind of learned that, and so since then we still do play like the bigger cities, but we make sure that we play like the in-between cities as well, and just try to meet people on the road from just different backgrounds that are completely different than ours.
Yeah.
And you just learn a ton from people that are different than you.
And so Cult of Cats was the second record?
Yep.
Yeah, Cult of Cats was the second record, and the name, Nicole creates a lot of the names, which I think are really clever, but we always thought it was funny that Cult of Cats kind of references cats, but it's funny because cats would never create a cult, because you can't tell them what to do, and they're just gonna do their own thing regardless. So
we just imagine this like cult leader trying to tell a bunch of cats to do something, and they're just like playing around doing what they wanted.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally understand. One of my cats, Mimi, who we jokingly refer to her as the boss baby. She's in charge of everything. She'll come in and say, "Have you submitted your paperwork to do that?" I don't think you have, because we'll pick up the cat toys, and I've honestly seen her. We have this big basket of kitty toys, and she'll just knock it over and just start flinging toys. It's like, no, they belong out.
That's where they go.
They're supposed to be on the floor. So I can only imagine like someone trying to be a leader over several cats, and they're like, yeah.
Yeah, not in
This isn't gonna work.
If you are just tuning in, and shame on you, this is your Tuesday afternoon alternative here on WUDR, Dayton, Ohio, student-run radio from the University of Dayton. I may no longer be a student, but I loved it so much I never left. So we have Curse of Cassandra here in the studio. We probably should have you guys formally introduce yourself to people who don't know.
Yeah, for sure. I'm Nicole Richter. I'm the singer, and then I also help write the songs and the lyrics.
And I'm Jacob Richter, and I play keyboards and saxophone and other instruments, and also write the music and lyrics.
I've seen you guys play, and I was curious about this. Like you'll jump from one instrument to another, or dare I say, and tell me if I'm wrong when I'm watching this, it looks like you're playing a couple things simultaneously from time to time.
Yes, yeah. Incorporating some drums, so I'll be playing keyboards and drums,
and then usually you're playing two keyboards as well. We have like an analog bass, sub-fatty Moog that we use, and then you also have the MIDI keyboard.
Yeah, so there's elements with just two people that I'm not playing, but generally I'm playing the entire show in some manner.
Yeah.
And it adds a different kind of live effect to what's going on in the music.
I'm going to ask the dumb question that I hope somebody is thinking of. How do you keep all that straight?
How do I?
Yeah.
Well,
I'm just thinking I've seen you guys a couple of times. I was trying to think what, like Blind Bobs or something like that.
Yep.
Although that was a while ago, and it seemed to me like you were doing some percussive thing with your feet, and it looked to me like you were doing two different other instruments, so three instruments at the same time. I can barely manage a soundboard, a very simple soundboard here. How do you keep all that straight?
I appreciate that, so I guess I'll preface it by saying that in life it's actually difficult for me to multitask, but it so happens in music.
You're terrific at it.
Yeah, I can do that in music, so I've created a way to do that.
That's really remarkable, because you think about how complicated that can be, especially when you guys are composing different sounds. And different songs can be completely different keys and things like that, or there are different sound elements there. You keep it up amazingly, in my humble opinion.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think that's something too I should add. Like, so I'm playing the keyboards and behind kind of a set of instruments, but I always felt like it was not difficult to reach the audience, but then, you know, Nicole's amazing because she can go out and dance with the entire audience while I'm doing that, and then you have kind of this whole like live band feel.
Because I used to play keyboards, and then we decided kind of like to separate that so that I wasn't stuck behind something.
Yeah, and then she could interact, and then there would be this like, you know, more immersive experience.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a lot of fun.
And you must lose a couple pounds.
I mean, yeah.
Based upon the show that I watched, I mean.
I have.
So whereas he's multitasking, I feel like, you know, I know those lights are bright from my distant past, but I'm also thinking, you don't really stop.
Yeah, I mean, if I did, like, I guess it'd be hard to start again. But
Yeah.
No, it keeps you in shape. I mean, when we originally went on our tour for Cult of Cats, I teach at Wright State, and I had sabbatical for a year to work on a book. So we just bought an RV, packed up in it with our cats, and just went on the road for a year living in the RV and living with our cats and playing shows. And leading up to that, I was teaching Zumba classes to basically like train for this kind of intensity. And I think that was a really good background for it because our shows are about 45 minutes and a Zumba class is an hour. So, you know, you always got to train a little bit past where you're at.
Yeah.
Well, and for people who haven't tried it, doing that and singing at the same time is a feat in and of itself.
So it's not just that you're dancing and you're moving and you're interacting with the crowd, but you're also having to sing and thinking about what you're singing and things like that. So I think you've got a different level of multitasking going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
We should try trading places sometime and just see how it goes.
Yes, that would be.
No.
That would be an example of humor. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm not so sure he's with you, Nicole.
Right.
No.
You don't want to hear me play saxophone?
And I'm not going to look as pretty doing it.
Oh, that's
Let's be
nice.
honest.
Well, of course we're all going to say that.
Right.
You know, I think we're contractually obligated. Well, you're contractually obligated. Yeah.
You are, yeah.
So, hi, you're listening to Your Tuesday Afternoon Alternative. Enjoying the show? Let us know. Check out our blog, yourtuesdayafternoonalternative.com. The Twitter stream is Dr. J. It's DRJYTAA. And we've got a couple of Facebook groups. You just look for Your Tuesday Afternoon Alternative, and you find us. Maybe you'd suggest some other guests who should come on the show. Or, gee, Dr. J, you should have them back and ask them those questions. That's okay, too. That's perfectly fine. So then the third record.
Yeah.
So how is the third record different than the first two?
So the third record is called Necronomicon, and it's based on cats and kind of more the sacred background of cats. And Nicole also came up with this name, and it's actually, I love it. It's so Neko in Japanese culture means cat, and there's actually a whole culture of people who dress like cats, and it's a very big movement. And so it kind of has to do with that. And then her other idea was to create more of like a concept album. So we chose famous witches throughout time in history. In history and literature and things, but each song is based around a particular witch. And so the lyric content and then the music itself, we kind of were inspired by different witches, and they're all named after a witch.
What would you say to that, Nicole?
Yeah, I would say that, and the reason why, like, witches in particular, I guess, are interesting to us is just, like, mythological entities, just, like, you know, powerful women throughout history, and so there's, like, feminist elements to it, and then also just the idea of, like, magic, and of course the relationship between the familiar and the witch, the cat and the witch, and kind of exploring that. So I mean, it's like, it's a fun idea to explore, but also like I think it has some deeper meaning for us, just as more of like a general idea of connecting with like otherness and people that feel like maybe they are marginalized or otherized in some way, and so it's sort of like a way for us, it's a metaphor to like bring together people that maybe feel excluded. So a lot of our themes are specifically about that as well. And then how we approached it is we definitely took like pop elements, and then we incorporated it with like industrial aspects and aspects of different I guess genres of music, like trap music and synth pop and dark wave, and kind of tried to like unify it together in I guess in an accessible way is the pop element, but yeah,
and still incorporating dance beats and trying to create a world that live everyone can have fun when you're experiencing it.
Yeah, you can dance to it at a show.
Yeah,
that was also the goal.
It almost sounds, and forgive me because I know you're an educator. it almost sounds educational. I teach a class, and I talk about some of the terminology and some of the interpretations. And the term witch used to refer to a wise woman.
Exactly.
It didn't refer to somebody who was turning people into toads or things like that.
Exactly.
And although that mythology got created as you get the industrialization of medicine and things like that. Mostly so men could take it over. But hey, still, it sounds like there's almost an educational component to some of what you're doing as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's why like each song it's coming from like a witch, but it's specifically about kind of telling that history. You know, there's a historical aspect to it, and then like it was basically women that could read. That was basically what a witch was, and that women weren't allowed to like spell and things like that. So there's definitely that educational aspect, and I think that it's also why we named the band Curse of Cassandra. It's named after a Greek myth, and kind of that idea that it keeps returning, that like women have knowledge but it's presumed to be false, and then they have these like basically we should value women's knowledge, I guess is like the broader point, and not just women, but kind of like using the witch as like an archetype for specific types of knowledge that people don't like respect or take seriously.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you're listening to your Tuesday afternoon alternative here on WUDR, Dayton, Ohio, student-run radio from the University of Dayton. We're going to give them a chance to catch their breath because I feel like I've already asked you like 11 questions so far. So maybe let's give you a little bit of a break. This is an old yet great Curse of Cassandra song here on YTAA. You guys are a good interview.
Oh, thank you.
You're pros. You're pros.
Thanks. It's coming pretty natural. I mean, you're really good at asking questions.
Oh, you're very
I
kind.
Think so. There's like back and forth.
You're hitting all my buttons. It's like I teach a class. It's called Social Deviance, but the whole class is really about how there really isn't such a thing.
Yeah. No. Exactly.
It is whatever we think it is, right?
Exactly.
Whenever people label. Exactly right. Yeah. Are you a sociologist by any chance?
Like philosophy, film professor.
Okay.
Well, like,
we have connections. I also teach a class in popular culture and popular film.
Right.
Which I teach a class on horror, which is mostly about, there really isn't such a genre. It's just, people construct this idea of the unknown, and then the unknown is frightening, and why is the unknown frightening? And then people, then we go through all the archetypes and tropes and things like that. But
archetypes. That would be the other thing. That's kind of like archetypes.
But I always whenever people talk about witches, it's always okay. My definition of that may not be the same as your definition of that.
Yeah, and I realize that's why. Yeah. Because I know people, no, it's like all these other things really, like.
Well, kind of like you, like I was going to she's a lot of things, like sociologist, philosopher,
Sure.
Well, you may not be formally trained as a soc person, but
no,
we're going to claim you.
I mean, I was more formally trained, psychology, philosophy, yeah.
Well, I mean, and when you get to like social sciences and the study of popular culture and things like that, the disciplinary boundaries tend to blur a little.
Right, which I love.
Which I think means you're doing it right.
Yeah, agreed.
But I also have colleagues who tell me that I'm doing it wrong, so that's that's okay. Like I tell my students from time to time when I'm joking, it's like the only difference is that I'm right.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
What is your Twitter? Sorry.
Oh, no problem. It's DRJ YTAA. I just made it Dr. J instead of saying, something weird about your Tuesday afternoon alternative. I just took the first letters. DRJ YTAA. Yeah. I know, I always say it so fast. I don't know how people could possibly keep up.
Tune in to...
What is it?
Yeah, we've already recorded. We're damn near half an hour already. So, yeah. So I normally like to break up the recordings to not be more than an hour, but you guys have to go at 4:45. You said, or thereabouts,
yeah, or like about there.
Or maybe even a little earlier. Hey, I'm just thinking how bad traffic is.
Yeah, no, actually that's a good point.
So maybe closer to 4:30 might be wiser.
Okay.
You're welcome to stay as long as you like. Like I tell all guests, but I also know you've got other stuff you need to do. But the only thing I do ask. My drum head is completely signed. I normally have bands sign the drum head, but I haven't got a new drum head yet, which I usually like to get like a drummer is like, I don't know what to do with this old drum head. I'm like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
And a couple people have said they were going to give me one, but I don't have it yet. But I always like to take a selfie.
Okay.
Like either in here or out with the clouds, whichever one we prefer.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, so I'll make sure that we end, maybe closer to 4:30 might be wiser.
Okay.
I just know during the afternoon, trying to get like from this part of town
I'm
over
sure,
to Wright
yeah,
State
she couldn't
can
even
be a little
come
harder than you think.
You're right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I'd just rather not, make you guys late.
Yeah, that's cool.
Whereas I feel like I'm always a few minutes late for stuff.
Right. Well, yeah.
Except
we
for
were
this.
late.
Except for
We were today. I usually am not, but we missed.
I should have warned you if you weren't. I don't know why I made the dumb assumption that you were coming from downtown Dayton or
Well,
something.
we used to live in Oakwood.
Yeah, we used to live in Oakwood.
Okay,
so
is that
we know
why I
the
was
area.
thinking
Yeah,
that?
just-
Maybe that's why I was thinking that.
So we would have been close, but we moved when we got back from the RV trip. We
Sure,
moved,
sure.
Yeah.
So like you shut down the house and everything and
Yeah.
oh,
no, we have a
smart.
restaurant
I think
there.
that's smart.
Yeah.
Why pay for something you're not using?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I want to do that. I have this idea. My idea of a retirement is like traveling the country.
Yeah.
Doing
That's
all
what we
kinds of
did.
weird
We
stuff.
kinda like where we were retired for a year.
And we would stop at campsites, but yeah, it was basically us and everyone who was retired.
Right? I mean, and so yeah, we'll let one more song go just to
Cool.
get. Also, since I'm still making you talk, because
Yeah,
I'm mean.
for sure.
I'm truly mean. But no, thank you again for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean,
yeah,
we probably should have done it a while ago.
Yeah,
I don't
no.
know.
Well, I don't know if I ever reached out.
Yeah,
I tend to
I
reach
don't
out and then I
think so.
forget.
Yeah.
Or think that I reached out. I really should do.
We're really
better at that.
learning all of the moving parts that it takes because
Yeah.
it's like
It's a lot, and if
Oh,
you're,
no doubt.
if you're two people to wear, because we all, different hats. So she's
Mm-hmm.
social media and doing that amazing job at that, but then
Yeah.
we're trying to get, this done and
writing a new album.
writing music.
And then
whatever,
you're supposed to promote it after you release
yeah.
it.
Just-
Well, and on top of that,
Stuff
to
that-
have a full-time job and
Yeah,
everything else,
exactly.
it gets crazy.
Yep.
But that's how we like it, right?
Well, that's what I tell myself. I'd rather feel a little overwhelmed than feel bored.
Exactly. Same.
When I need a down day, I take a down day. Like
Yeah.
I don't know what my wife has planned, what Tracy has planned. And she came up her DJ name is Mrs. Dr. J. And I'm
Oh,
like,
nice.
you can be your own person. She's like, no.
I like it.
This is what everybody calls me already.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I just don't want you to be defined by me,
Right.
but be defined as yourself. Right? I also, in my spare time, I also teach a feminist theory class.
Nice,
So,
yeah.
So I didn't want, to be sexist
he
about
took
that.
my last name when we got married, so
I
people
did.
are like, "Are you brother and sister?" Because they'll say my mom has the same last name.
I
Yeah.
have the
And
same
I'm
last
like,
name as her mom.
It's
yeah.
interesting that you go there first,
Yeah.
as opposed to
The assumptions that are embedded in that, yeah.
Yeah.
yes, we're married brother and sister. That seems more likable to you, or believable than. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Crazy things happen in music.
So
no.
funny. No, yeah, I mean, true.
Yeah.
I guess it's not.
Or would that just
Game
be?
of Thrones.
Would that, yeah, thank you. Would that just be
Yeah.
life in general? Isn't that
Right.
weird?
It's just like
Or then I
Jack,
tell my students, what is weird?
Jack and Meg White. from
People
the
used to
White
think-
Stripes.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
the time
Yeah.
thought that there was oh, this is creepy. I can't like them, and I'm like,
Right.
well, that's not. And the color scheme. They clearly, no, that's just how they promote and brand themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we definitely should remind people about all the social media, or is it just the website One Stop Shopping? Is that the best thing to tell?
Facebook and
People love Instagram
SoundCloud
Fan
and
grab, our Instagram.
Instagram.
Yeah.
because you guys have an active Instagram feed.
Yeah, for sure.
But of course, whatever you prefer. Don't listen
Yeah.
to me.
Instagram sounds good.
Yeah, Instagram's great.
But do you guys have enough water? Did you need anything
I'm
else?
good right now.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Probably get some sleep after some point, but.
Okay.
So yeah, just
Radio.
oh God, I didn't look to see did anyone have a question? Wouldn't that be
Oh,
good
right.
to check? I told people I was gonna check. I lied. Let's see what we got here. 20. Oh, okay.
Oh.
Interesting. Your electronic. Do you consider yourself part of what some people call the Dayton sound? Ooh, we should go with
Oh,
that.
shit.
That's fun. Okay, unless you don't like
I'll
it.
answer it.
Okay.
So 20 seconds. Curse of Cassandra here on your Tuesday afternoon alternative. Binding few years old. They're probably going, oh, why'd you choose that one? I like it. That's why I chose it. Before that, Every Time I Feel Alone. And yes, I promised I was going to look to see if people had questions, and they do. And the first question I see is about the Dayton music scene. As an electronic band, how do you see yourself fitting into people's ideas about what Dayton music should sound like?
Well, I think like probably the way that we feel like we most fit into the history of Dayton is Brainiac and the influences of all of Brainiac's like early experimentations with electronic music, which was super influential on people like Trent Reznor and Nine Inch Nails, who also influenced us now. So I think like definitely looking at that kind of like history of electronic music, it's been here in Dayton, not just through Brainiac, but also through like pop music and dance music that has come out of the region as well. So maybe like less in terms of the like more indie rock sound and more in that kind of electronic aspect. I do think we do incorporate some electronic indie rock like songwriting in how the melodies are composed.
Yeah, we definitely take influences from lots of different musical artists, and that's been great about the Dayton scene too. We love the Dayton scene and the musicians that work in the Dayton scene, and I think when we started there's definitely a lot of people doing indie rock, and then there's always been electronic artists, but it was also something we could do because that's the kind of instruments we play, and it was a really great scene to like learn how to become a band, and it's always been one of our favorite places.
We've got a couple of questions. People are wondering if they could see you. Where are you playing out? Where can they go experience a Curse of Cassandra show?
Yeah, actually this Friday we're playing a show at Therapy Cafe. It's the Black Heart Masquerade Ball. It's a like Black Heart Valentine's Day show. So for all the like gothy dark romantics out there or anti-romantics out there, that's Friday, and there'll be a DJ as well as us playing, and that should be really fun. So that's coming up, and then we're also playing next weekend at the Mockbee in Cincinnati. We're playing with a few bands out of Chicago that are traveling through really great industrial dark wave bands. So if you're into that, head out to the Mockbee. That's a free show. That's Sunday, February 16th, or see us this Friday at Therapy Cafe.
Right here in Dayton.
Somebody was also asking, where can they go to purchase some of your music or download some of your music?
So you can go to our Bandcamp page. It's Curse Cassandra on Bandcamp. You can get our albums there. You can also get our albums on curseofcassandra.com, or you can check us out on Spotify.
Mm-hmm. And you've got quite a big social media presence. Could you let people know how they can find you that way?
Yeah, absolutely. Our Instagram page is very active. We love Instagram because it's so visual. So if you want to see what we're up to and where we're traveling and interact with us, you can find us there, Curse of Cassandra on Instagram. We also have Curse Cassandra on Twitter, and then we also have Curse of Cassandra on Facebook.
I've got one more question. I may have to hold this up because this looks like a long question. Somebody was saying that in essence, I'm going to paraphrase. Sorry, Wally, I'm going to paraphrase. Is saying that a lot of people assume that when bands have elements like you have that sing about witches and cats and kind of focus on dark subject matter or so-called dark subject matter, do you run into any discrimination, or do you run into people who just don't get it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the reasons we explore dark subject matter is we feel like it brings like a holism to life, that like the light side of life can only be defined by the darkness. And so for us, it's about incorporating both. A lot of our song lyrics and everything are actually about love and connection and acceptance, and it's just within coming from that like dark context. And so it's a way to unify it. And so I do think like initially people might have an idea that it is only like celebrating that, but one of the things I think that does differentiate us from other people in the genres that we're in is specifically the fact that like our lyrics are very kind of like utopic and positive and optimistic, and we're really trying to create a space for people to exist like through our music. So it's very much about connection and community. Yeah,
we're definitely trying to affirm through our lyrics a place for people who don't maybe have anywhere else to go to experience music, art, and connection.
So there's a real effort. I'm not sure what